L'chaim v'livracha. To life and to blessings. It's wonderful to be back. It was wonderful to go to celebrate with our grandson's bar mitzvah, 13-year-old boy, becoming a man, and to be get together with the family to celebrate. It's wonderful, especially to see in a place like Northern California, Napa Valley, which is not what you would call a very strong Jewish community, and definitely not a strong Hasidic community. There are not that many Jews there to begin with. And usually we are affected by our environment and we try to fit into our environment. That's what happens with most people. And most people, first immigrants that come to a country, they're different, but their children try to be like everyone else, right? The third generation, knows nothing else but what is their environment. And therefore, it's very easy to assimilate and lose your Jewish path, which has happened to many Jews throughout the centuries. But to see it in a place like Northern California, that's not naturally conducive to Jewish life, but Jewish life is thriving in those homes, the Hasidic homes and the Chabad homes, and to see that, the children have the same connection, enthusiasm for a mitzvah, for study of Torah, as children the same age from the big city where that's their environment, that's their world. It shows on the great power of Torah study. It shows on the great inherent connection that the Jew has to Judaism, and shows, of course, the greatness of the shluchim, the Rebbe's emissaries. The Rebbe's emissaries. And, of course, the greatness of the children themselves and how they adhere. They're American, but yet they're Jewish, they're Hasidic, and you can see it. Walking down the street, downtown Napa Valley, with tzitzis hanging out. Matter of fact, in front of, downtown Napa, two of my grandchildren, we just sang and danced together on the street, on the sidewalk. Do that in Montreal and, in the Chabad community, it's always done. But to do it, in Napa Valley, that's already a novelty. That's not a usual. That's not, but, Tanya teachings, Hasidic teachings, and the way of life is everywhere and can be flourishing everywhere, even if it might be a place that's not naturally conducive to it. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zecher Kadesh in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We're speaking about the study of Torah, the doing of mitzvahs, and intent in the intent in the mitzvah, the awareness of the divine. Three different things. Each one has something unique and special about it. So we're continuing in Kuntres Achrein, the end of Tanya, in the fourth essay. And this essay, excuse me, the Alter Rebbe, explaining those distinctions. So when you have a mitzvah, like an esrog to make the blessing over the citron fruit called the esrog on the holiday of Sukkot, or let's say tefillin today, right? Those objects, as everything, is being created by God. This cup of coffee right now, Chai. We think about ourselves that we're being created by God, of course. But the cup of coffee is being created by God too. The cup of coffee is being created from klipa, though, right? Klipa meaning the shell that's covering over. And therefore, this is inherently a spark of divinity here. That's correct. But openly, it's not. But the pair of tefillin, or the esrog, as the example the Alter Rebbe gives here, right, that citron fruit that's used on the holiday, it is being given vitality. It is being created by God from His holiness. And therefore, the object is holy. And therefore, because the object is holy, we have to treat it differently than you would treat a cup of coffee. When I'm finished with this cup, it's going to go and, has no holy inherent has no open holiness to it, so it gets discarded. But the esrog doesn't get discarded, or the tefillin doesn't get discarded, because there's open holiness to it. It's being animated into existence by God, by the vessels of Atzilus, in the world of Atzilus, and God, He is one with His vessels. So it's open godliness revealed in the mitzvah object. That's very powerful. That's the idea of a mitzvah. When you engage in the mitzvah, you are engaging with that open holiness of that object, of the divine. Right? As opposed to your intent about an awareness about the mitzvah, about the great, the awareness of how this is divine. That awareness is only, you're not touching inherently the divine. You're just knowing about it. Oh, it's like knowing about something, but it's not connecting to the thing. It's about it. It's not it. The esrog is it. And therefore, holding on to it and doing the mitzvah with it is it. Is, right? You're having godliness itself. Your awareness of godliness is not the same. It's external as opposed to internal. Right? And therefore lesser. Now, but to know the law of the esrog, or the tefillin, whatever it is, to engage and to know that, the law is the will of God, right? It's the wisdom of God. So when you study it, what do you have? You have God. You have it. You have God in the study of it. And that's why it says that, when it comes to a mitzvah that, for example, like offerings on the altar, we don't have that now. But if you study about it, it's like you did the offering, right? Because you have it through its study. You have God, Him, His will, His wisdom that are one with Him when you study it, the law. Okay? So what do you have when you study about not the law, but the understanding of how God animates, how God is creator and creator now of this esrog or of this tefillin, right? You have the awareness, you know about it, but you don't have it. So it's external, right? You are aware, and that's wonderful. Actually, the Alter Rebbe says it's in a certain way, there's something even greater about that. But you don't have it. But ultimately, the purpose is to know God. Even though God's beyond us, and how do we know Him? Yet, When we understand Seder Shtalshus, we understand the order of creation. We understand how everything and the process of how God animates everything in this world, creates everything in this world. So even though you don't have him, you have knowing about him rather than literally having him in your hand with the mitzvah or in your mind and your words when you understand him in the law, because that's knowing God, not knowing about God, but knowing, right? But there's something wonderful about knowing about God and um, his engagement to create the world, because that's going to lead you um, to know God. And the ultimate is to know God. Know the God of your father. Not only that, but by knowing the fact that, the by understanding the ways of God, right? Right. The mitzvah, you have a piece of God, so to speak, right? In the study, you have a piece of God because you have his will and wisdom. In knowing God, you just have a ray of him. You don't have him because in creation, it's a ray of him. But what that does is lead you ultimately to have a wholehearted sense of awe of God. Because through your awareness, through your understanding and grasping God's ways and presence within the world, it's going to lead you to a greater sense of connection, greater sense of awe of God. And that is the ultimate. Even though to know God is only one of the 613 commandments, yet um, it brings a purification that I can do in all of the commandments by knowing him. Again, even though it's not knowing him internally, because he's way beyond, I'm only knowing the way the metaphor would be is like when you see the actions of another person, do you know them? You know their actions. Is that them? No. Is it a reflection of them? Yes, but it's not them, right? It's not them. Not them, in other words, essentially, right? It's not them. So through God's actions as creator, will you know about God? Yes. Do you have the essence of God? No. In the mitzvah, you have the essence of God. In the study of Torah and in the law of that mitzvah, you have the essence of God, God himself. Not what he does, but who he is. Right? And knowing God as creator, it's knowing about him. Knowing me through my actions is knowing about me. So even though it's not as, the connection is not as profound, but there's something to be said about knowing the actions of a person, right? That will lead you to more of the awe of that person, of a great person, a great holy person, right? And I'm giving that by way of metaphor, and that would be the metaphor over here of the awe that we would have for God when we know his ways. That's awesome. Any questions, any comments? This is very esoteric. Clear? Our Facebook is working. We're back on Facebook. I don't know if it's today, but if it's not today, if it was maybe yesterday, is the unveiling of Zelixon's father, of Yosef. Oh, we just spoke about the birth of Joseph today, and it's the unveiling of um, David and Liba's father. No, Yeshayahu. Yeshayahu ben Yosef? I can't remember now. In any case, so today's learning in his honor of his memory. Okay. I don't see any questions here. We will continue. Okay, Rambam coming up. Thank you, folks.